The college football playoff bracket is what it says right there, a mess, because what everyone said was like, oh, if this one thing happens, it's going to throw everything in chaos. Well, that thing happened. And that was, I'm pulling it up right here. That was, that was Georgia beating Tennessee. So now it's just everybody's beat
There's gonna be
every.
like 5 SEC teams in.
Well, now that is what I wanted to talk to you about, Casino. So, based on and this is from NCAA.com. Now,
Yeah.
they just did it based on not where they made the case for specific teams. They just made it based on how the rankings are right now. So, let me read this to you right here and then get your thoughts. The 2024-2025 college football season is the first time we have a 12-team playoff format. During the season, the selective committee ranks the top 25 teams and then makes the bracket based on the rankings. The four highest ranked conference champions receive buys into the quarterfinals, with the fifth highest ranked conference champion getting in automatically, though without a bye. So let's take a look at how that bracket would look only using the committee's latest top 25 rankings. This is not a projected look at how the final bracket could look, only how the bracket looks now using the committee's own rankings. So I'm going to put this up on screen right now. I'm going to share my screen.
Make sure there's nothing on there.
Oh, it's all cleared off. Let me tell you. So right here, if we can, if I can zoom in on that a little.
I don't think you're gonna be able to.
Do not doubt me.
I doubt you
Uh,
always.
so right there, Casino, as we see it, the college football playoffs right now would have Oregon, Texas, BYU, Miami in that order as the top four seeds that all get a first round bye. Then it would be, what is it? Ohio State, Boise State, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Penn State, Alabama, Indiana. So thoughts on just the bracket as a whole?
Well,
What
see,
you
that's not gonna end up being like that because everything or I see like Indiana they have as 11, even though they're undefeated. um, like there's just 1,000 different brackets out there from 1,000 different media sources. I know what you just said. This is based off of the NCAA like rankings currently. Um, I think this would be fun because you still get BYU in there. Indiana's still in there. Some Notre Dame who doesn't have a conference. They're nomads doing their thing.
Yeah.
Like this would be fun for me to watch. I actually would enjoy this, but I can't believe Alabama's in there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, again, they just base this on the rankings. So what
Right.
if this was the only? We would get four SEC teams. It'd be Texas,
There's going to be
Alabama.
5 SEC teams, so just get ready for that now.
Yeah, or no, or yeah, it'd be Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, and then what, Texas, right? Those would be the
Yeah.
four SEC teams. So I feel like four SEC teams, especially from what we've seen this season from the SEC teams, I feel like that would be the
4 are
one
getting
I would
in.
bitch about the
4 are
least.
getting in for sure. It's going to be 5. I guarantee it.
Who would be the other one you would put in? Here, let me pull it up.
Yeah.
What is it? If we're just looking at the SEC right now, oh man, if I can just go to it. Whoop.
All right, Georgia. Doing Georgia wasn't in there, right?
No, let me see. So it was, yeah, it was Ole Miss, Texas, Alabama, and Tennessee. So
What's
yeah,
that?
the one that would have been left out would have been Texas. Or I'm
Or
sorry, it would have been
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Georgia's getting in. I mean, because honestly, this is a really. I mean, no matter how much I don't want 5 SEC teams in there, like you can make a case for obviously Texas, Tennessee. I honestly even like Texas A&M. You have Ole Miss, uh, Georgia. Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
just
you can make a case for six of them. Texas, Texas A&M, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss, all 8-2, or Texas is 9-1. Now, obviously, they're going to have an SEC championship game, but again, it would feel
and did you? So
weird.
it's funny you say that. So like, I just came across somewhere. I'm gonna try to pull it up right now. So apparently, the Ole Miss coach was saying that their teams don't want to be in the SEC championship.
Well, I was just going to mention that. Yeah, it would be weird if, let's say, it's Texas A&M in the SEC championship game. One of those teams, let's say it's Texas A&M, loses. All of a sudden, they have a third loss, and then Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss all have one less loss than them, but none of them made it to the championship game.
As Lane Kiffin was saying, it's not as attractive in 2024 thanks to the current playoff format. Making the SEC championship could be the team's downfall if they don't leave Atlanta victorious. Like, totally true. That's a big gamble. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but those are really good teams.
Well, I also think, and they were in there, but if you have Oregon undefeated, if you have Indiana undefeated, if you have Army undefeated, feel like if
Army's losing. I'll get into that here in a second.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have those teams undefeated, especially Indiana and Army, if they're undefeated and in the top 25 at the end of the season, I feel like you have to let them in. Like, you have to let them into the playoffs if they're undefeated in the top 25.
Well, that would be true, but that would be okay. Do you take? Yeah, they'd be undefeated, but say they beat Notre Dame. All right, if they beat Notre Dame, there's your big check mark because that's who they play next. And even with Boise State, with their loss that they have, you take that check mark, and then even with Boise State being one loss, you would still take Army and put them in. I would say, though, if Army loses and they're only a one-loss team, and then they win their conference, and Boise goes and they're one. Basically, what I'm saying is it's going to be a long shot because of strength of schedule, man. It truly is. So I'll get into it now because I was kind of bringing it up. UNLV is back in the top 25. They're 23rd. So it's going to be Boise State because it's going to be Boise State going and advancing for that 12th spot. I guarantee it 100% because I will tell you right now, Notre Dame is going to absolutely obliterate Army because Army hasn't played anybody worth a shit. They just haven't.
And they play this weekend in Notre Dame Stadium.
You had Tulane, Navy, and Army, all really good records, all break the top 25 this year. But you look who they played. They were playing nobodies. But you have to give them respect, for being undefeated teams and so on and so forth, and then playing each other. But that's out the window. Strength of schedule is what's going to come down to. So, and then right now, it would be Boise State, Colorado State for the Mountain West Championship. Just Colorado State lucked out. They got the easiest part of the Mountain West Conference. Even though UNLV is ranked 23, they have one in conference loss, which is against Boise State. So it comes down to this weekend where Boise State would be a walk-in. This is how I can see Army getting in. Sorry, it's a lot going on. If Colorado State, oh, hi, honey. If Colorado State beats Fresno State this weekend and UNLV does not get in the conference, oh, gosh darn it. Sorry, my brain's all fuzzy. So say UNLV gets in, Colorado State loses against Fresno State, and then UNLV Boise play, and UNLV wins. I could still see if Army only has one loss, Army getting in. That's what I was going to get at.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, it's a lot going on. So that's all very muddled for that 12th spot. Sorry, that was all.
Well, also,
right now. My head hurts.
It's weird that they're putting in. It's weird that they're putting in BYU in this playoff bracket, especially after we see BYU just lost Kansas.
Oh, and Kansas,
yeah, they lost by 4 points to Kansas in a game where it never even felt like they were close. Kansas kind of dominated that entire game. And then also one of these rankings is going to take care of themselves because Ohio State, Indiana is this week. And if Ohio State just blows the doors off Indiana, I think they legitimately could drop enough to where they wouldn't be in
Oh,
contention to
a
be
lot
in
of
the
people
bracket.
have Indiana as the 11 seed right now, where they're the last in, even though they're undefeated. But there's a lot of people that have Indiana at the 11 seed
Yeah.
as the last at large bid. So they have to beat Ohio State.
And I'm telling you, what is it? We've
And if they
given him.
if they beat Ohio State could possibly be out.
That's very true. But I'll tell you what, the one we have to look out for, Casino, and we've given him shit on this podcast, but Colorado, they're sitting there at 16. If they win the last two, and all of a sudden they are what uh
They'll be looked at.
eight,
They'll be
or
looked
they're
at.
not, they're 10-2, like
Yeah.
going into the Big 12
The reason they will
championship.
be looked at though is because obviously you have Sanders. You know, you have him. That would be great to have him in the college football playoff. So if Colorado's right on the the brink of making that 11 or 10 seed for the at-large bid, the committee is going to go, can we make more money by putting Colorado in?
Exactly. I also think that's why Boise State is basically guaranteed the playoffs, because they're
Unless
probably going to have the Heisman winner.
Right. Unless, and this is, I'm not saying this to be silly. Like it comes down to this weekend. If Fresno State can beat Colorado State, and Colorado State has that single loss, UNLV still has to beat San Jose State and Nevada and Reno. But if it ends up Boise State UNLV, not being a homer, Boise State has been having trouble against easier opponents towards the later part of this season. So I could really see that being an absolutely great showdown, to where if Army loses to Notre Dame, which again, I believe they're going to get blown out, and Tulane, they've got some easy schedules coming up. But again, it comes down to strength of schedule. Even with if UNLV wins and has two losses and Army has one and Tulane has one, or Tulane has two, but Army would have only one loss, I think UNLV would go in front. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping for, because I think it would be really fun, because you could throw that whole Sun Belt Conference away if you have UNLV, Boise State for the Mountain West Championship. You could almost guarantee that that's the start of the playoffs, because whoever wins that game gets that last spot. And that would be really, really fun.
And I see where I messed up here. They are basing this before the rankings that came out today came out. So BYU actually fell to 14th.
Yes.
So they wouldn't be in it. I believe who would take their spot would be Notre Dame, and then who would take Notre Dame's spot at 9, I believe, would be SMU. So
Yeah,
you'd
that
get
was a
SMU
huge win
there.
for SMU the other week. So
Which honestly, I would like to see SMU, BYU, Colorado, Boise State. I'd like to see all those kind of schools mixing it up with the Oregons, the Ohio States, the
yeah,
Texas. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'll tell you what, the official bracket comes out on the Sunday, December 8th. And I feel like that is going to be just a debate for the ages about what teams were
it's gonna be a good
selected and
one.
what teams could have been in.